All and welcome to Around the Mick, where we're here at Tom Wood Nissan tonight, and we have a great show ahead of us. Ever think about what it's like to try to go for 35 straight state championships? Well, we've got a couple of Carmel swimmers here tonight, along with their head coach, and we've got a couple of sectional championship wrestlers over from Warren Central in the East Side here tonight, and a special guest from the Indy Star. And he's going to be talking about some girls sectional basketball. It's going to be a great show. Let's see what our host Kyle has for us.
Well, and we have Carmel swimming coach Chris Plum on the show with us, and we've had Chris on before, and obviously going for 35 consecutive state championships, quite a feat, and it's amazing that run has continued as long as it has, Chris. But I know that's not what you're all about at Carmel, but just kind of, what's this year been like in particular with the COVID situation? How has it impacted your program? Yeah. What have you guys kind of had to do to keep the train on the tracks this year?
Yeah, obviously we're like everyone else. We follow the protocols and social distance, but I think it made us really focus in on the day-by-day stuff and not try to think too far in advance. Are we going to have a meet? Are we not? Or this or that. I mean, it was really like, let's do a great job today, let's have a great practice, and let's get our team fired up. And then hopefully we have it tomorrow, and it was really just being grateful for the opportunity too. I mean, I think these kids just taking the advantage of, like, I'm glad we're here, I'm glad we're having a season.
Did you guys have any kind of a normal summer, or when did it kind of get back to normal training and that sort of thing for you guys?
Well, normal I think we're going to use that word in quotations, but yeah, I think we were able to get back in June. We swam outside for as long as we could, and then kind of figured out how to move indoors and work through that. But, for swimmers, taking 8 weeks off last spring was tough, but, all the guys and girls on the team have really embraced getting back into it, and, they're swimming lifetime best now, so they're in a good spot.
Well, you guys are the envy of the whole country with your program. I know you have a background, obviously, as a swimmer at IU. Did you take a lot from that experience, and what did you, how have you kind of built this program, and who do you kind of take from? Who are your mentors along the way?
Yeah, I think for me, I looked at a program and said, I want to create a place that I would have loved to have swum at and competed for, and creating that team environment, where people want to do more for each other than they will for themselves. That was the first priority. And then, I think I just looked across the country at the great coaches. I think a great mentor of mine is John Urbanchak, who coached at the University of Michigan. They won 6 NCAA titles, and great Olympic coach. But I wasn't afraid to make calls. I mean, I remember visiting Bob Bowman and just showing up at his pool. Michael Phelps is coach, so I was willing to go out there and try to learn from everybody and anybody.
I know you've been doing this a long time, but do you tweak things year by year? Do you look at what works, what doesn't work, and try to make adjustments that way?
Yeah, I mean, we always know the one thing is constant, and that's change. And so I always look at the program, and I always think it's like 85-15 or 80-20. We want to keep 80-85% of the stuff we did before, but we do want to change 10, 15, 20% just to keep it fresh for the athletes, to keep it new for the coaches, and just continue trying to evolve each and every season.
I know you have two of your seniors here today, Griffin Hadley and Maggie Love. What have they meant to your program, and how would you kind of describe them as leaders in your program?
Yeah, I think each of them are great young people, and I'm so excited. When people talk about the future, I know I'm inspired by what they're able to do. Griffin, he's just a tremendous leader, and he brings energy. He wants to go in sports journalism, so he's not afraid to talk to the team or speak up when he needs to. And Maggie is this incredibly caring person, deep care for her teammates, and she looks after everybody, and she did Champions Together swim meet, so just the different kind of care and love and respect they bring every day. I mean, I'm just so excited for them and for their season too.
And kind of lastly, at this point in the year, do you feel like you guys are kind of peaking at the right time going into the tournament?
Yeah, I really do. We had a really nice meet, a little intra-squad. I mean, all the meets are a lot smaller today, but we swam really well at our own pool, and we're hitting. Right now we just every day. I hope everyone's healthy each and every day. That's what I really cross my fingers for. But I know as far as performances go, we were ready to go.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. We're going to kick it over to Will, and he's going to talk to two of the Carmel senior swimmers this season.
Thank you.
All right, we had some high praise from Coach over there. To my left is Maggie Love, and to my right, Griffin Hadley. You know, what is it like to be be a part of such a successful and, what a great program you have at Carmel?
You know, it's amazing to be a part of the program at Carmel, a history of success and a culture of excellence, really. I feel like the main takeaway is that when you start as a freshman, the senior leadership is incredible, and it just goes down the line, goes down the chain. And I feel as if now, sitting here as a senior, I'm trying to do my best to leave my own legacy, spread the knowledge that I've learned over the past 4 years and gained from guys who have gone on to win state championships, junior national championships, and even national championships.
What about you?
You know, like you come in your freshman year just expecting it to be great, and somehow it just gets better and better each and every year. And I think just walking on deck at Carmel, you can just feel the energy and just how, like, you're not going to feel that anywhere else. Like, it's just an amazing feeling.
And, we talk about the history of this program. Is there any pressure to, we don't want to be the guys to let this, history, we don't want to be the team that lets it down. And, we talked about the 35 consecutive state championships. That is for the girls. The boys, they're getting there, not on that level yet. But, how do we feel about that?
You know, I think there's pressures, there's expectations, there's always the outside looking in, but I feel like one thing that we do a really good job of is one thing Chris preaches is focusing on ourselves and keeping the picture small. I think we focus on our culture, we focus on getting better each and every day, we focus on getting better every day and not letting a bad practice dictate a week or a month of training. We're doing an amazing training block right now heading into the state tournament in February's girls sectionals is coming up this week, and I feel like we focus on the controllables, focus on what we can think about and control ourselves, and I think the results take care of themselves.
You know, just like Griffin said, we talk a lot about like recognizing the pressure but not letting it dictate all of your moves. And so I know for the girls team, a big motto for us is like standing on the shoulders of giants. So really like using those past like generations and people who have come before us as inspiration rather than like pressure.
Now we are here at Tom Wood Nissan. Do you guys have any dream cars that you would want?
You know, I mean, I think a Jeep Wrangler like truck with a bed on is pretty cool. Going down to Tennessee next year would be cool to take the guys to practice in the back. I have a Wrangler right now, so adding on the bed would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, you know, I'm a high schooler who drives a minivan, so honestly, probably anything else.
Sounds good, sounds good. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. You're watching Around the Mick here at Tom Wood Nissan. We're going to send it to a break.
The car you want, the way you want at tomwood.com.
2 vehicles, same model, same color, same price. The difference? The Tom Wood vehicle is a better value because it comes with our exclusive lifetime powertrain coverage at no cost to you. Find the car you want, the way you want at tomwood.com.
The car you want, the way you want at tomwood.com.
Back here at Around the Mick, Kyle Nedrip, and we're going to be talking wrestling now. Warren Central coach Mike Morgan joins us, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, I know we're getting into, almost into tournament time now. We have a couple of your wrestlers here today, but first I want to talk to you about kind of your background at Warren Central. You started 2015 and first year as head coach, but what kind of got you started in coaching wrestling, and how far back do you go with the sport?
Well, I mean, I was a state placer in high school for Lawrence Central, and then went to college on a full ride and wrestled out at William Penn University, and then made my way into the coaching ranks because I couldn't be away from the sport, and bounced around a little bit, ended up at Perry Meridian, won 3 state titles there, and then came to Warren Central, won a state title the first year at Warren, and have since picked up 2 additional state runner-ups, including this year. And that journey has just been a spectacular route in the sport, and it's been a fun ride. Hopefully it continues.
As you made the adjustment from athlete to coach, who did you kind of rely on in your sphere to kind of lead you to maybe know how to how to be a coach along the way?
Well, I mean, I've had some great mentors along the way. My high school coach Chad Redd is still in the sport. He runs a wrestling academy out of Avon. I coach with the Hall of Fame coach Jim Tante. I coached with Sean McGinley from Cathedral. I've coached with Matt Shetley, who's the current head coach at Perry Meridian. I've had a lot of great mentors throughout the years, and it's really been nice to be able to bounce ideas off of them as I need to, especially this season, being the head coach.
Yeah, it seems like a prerequisite to ask how COVID affects everybody, this year for wrestling especially. I'm sure there's a lot of things you guys have to do to make sure everybody's staying safe and doing what you guys can do. Has it been a lot different from that regard for you this year?
I mean, mostly the biggest difference is taking temperature checks and making sure everybody's clear and asking a bunch of questions before they even come in the door. But really, our kids are resilient, our coaching staff's resilient, and we just roll with the punches.
Kind of talk about, if you would, this year's team and kind of who you have, who you're relying on, kind of what the makeup of this team is, and some of your standouts so far.
We have a great group of kids on the team right now. We have, I think, 11 seniors in the starting lineup, plus a few additional seniors that are backing them up. But having guys like David Pearson, who's a 3-time returning state place winner, Jawan Anderson is a returning state runner-up, guys like Keon, who's been a staple in the program. You have a kid that was a state place winner last year for Lawrence Central that came back to Warren, Tyler Jones, and we're solid top to bottom, and our kids have just really stepped up throughout this season and been able to adjust with all of the new regulations and COVID restrictions, and our schedule's changed, I don't know, probably 10 times at least, and we just keep making the adjustments so we can get the kids the matches that they need so they can have success in the state tournament series. We just had sectionals last week and had 11 champions. It was a pretty good day.
Taking over for Jim Tonte, I mean, do you feel it must feel like the program's in a pretty good place, right, going into your first year?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great group of kids, and especially with that senior group, we also have a huge freshman class. I think we have 25 freshmen in there. Mm-hmm. So having those seniors to be able to help mentor the freshmen has been greatly beneficial into developing them so they can step in the lineup next year or the year after. We run a varsity 2 program as well, so I mean our second string isn't actually known as JV. They actually wrestle 30 varsity matches, so they get put in tough spots every year. And you got Caleb Asa back there behind the camera. He's been on varsity 2 for a couple years. I mean, I think he had 25 varsity matches this year, even during COVID. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really helps with developing the younger guys that normally wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to wrestle that many varsity matches, be ready to immediately be plugged into a lineup.
In your experience, how important is building up the youth programs and getting kids excited about wrestling even before they get to the high school level?
I mean, it's vital. I mean, if you don't have a youth program and a middle school program that's doing the same things that you are with the same goal and same vision, it's going to be hard to have sustained success. I mean, I think, so since I came to Warren in 2015, we've got 4 rings. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's completely different groups of kids, and they keep the same focus, the same goal. The goal every year is to win a state title, and just trying to put the pieces together to do that.
I know you have a couple guys here tonight, and we'll go to them here in a minute, but just explain kind of their influence on your program and what they mean to you guys.
So David Pearson, 3-time state place winner, trying to be the first 4-time state place winner in Warren Central history. He's taken on being a mentor to our 113-pounder, Kyrell Lavelle, who's ranked, I think, 3rd in the state right now as a freshman, and his only loss is to the Brownsburg kid who's a returning state champ. But he's really taken him under his wing, works out with him every day, tries to get him through those difficult adjustments of coming up through a middle school program into the high school grind. He's also stepped up as the leader of the team and has taken control, and he'll even run parts of practice to build the team camaraderie and all of that. Keon is just a freak athlete. I think he's ranked top 5 in the country in track, and he's ranked top 12 in the state for wrestling. He's been able to work out with another one of our freshman heavyweight, Paris Green, and really help develop him and get him adjusted to the grind, because being a freshman heavyweight's a tough undertaking because you're wrestling seniors almost every match. And he's advanced to the regional as a freshman heavyweight and has a winning record. And so they've both been vital in trying to keep the team focused and on track, especially in all of this crazy COVID times.
And what's up next for you guys now, Mike?
We have the regionals on Saturday.
And you guys are where?
It's normally at Perry Meridian, but they're hosting it at Southport so they can actually have spectators.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We're going to kick it over to Will, who's got those two athletes Coach was just talking about.
Hey, we've got David Pearson to my left and Keon Perkins-Sullivan to my right. Coaches always talk about building up the culture and making sure that it's strong and firm and it can be passed down year to year to year. What has been done and that you can tell in the last 4 years with this program?
Continuing and really being consistent with our work ethic. We work out 5 of the 6 days of the week. 6 of the 7 days of the week. Bad math. My bad. But really just keeping our head down to the grind, always working out, staying very, very consistent.
I just try to, boost our freshmen and just keep, I talk to the middle schoolers and tell them, hey, even though it's a hard time with the pandemic, I'm proud of them of being there, and you just have to, embrace your young culture to try to help them move on and succeed in the way that you want them to.
You guys have regionals coming up on Saturday, and you have I had 11 winners coming out of sectionals, and that's very impressive for a program. What's the game plan going in, and how are you guys as seniors and leaders of this program going to go in and get your guys ready?
Again, consistency. Consistency is definitely key. We don't want to go in and change up anything that major. There's no need. Consistency. That's really all I have to say, honestly.
Our motto during the state series is 14 in and 14 out, so our big goal is to take everybody into regionals and take everybody to semi-state. So I feel that we just have to stick to what we know and do what we do, and we should attain that.
Do you guys have any, special rituals you guys do before any meets, like the big sectional or regional meets?
Always. So at the end of practice on Friday, preparing for that meet, we always break it down to a song, "Count on Me." We always get up in a circle, wrap our arms around each other, we hug each other, and we say, "You can count on me."
That's awesome. Now I'm going to ask you guys what I asked the swimmers. Dream car, do you have one in mind?
I have way too many to list off, but I'll just go with Nissan for now. I'll go with the classics. Nissan 350, 370s.
Awesome.
You see, I drive a little box, a little toaster, so any car in here that they'd be willing to give me, I'd take it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to send it to a break. You guys are watching Around the Mick here at Tom Wood Nissan.
The car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
2 vehicles, same model, same color, same price. The difference? The Tom Wood vehicle is a better value because it comes with our exclusive lifetime powertrain coverage at no cost to you. Find the car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
The car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
Next segment here on Around the Mick. I'm Kyle Dendrint from the Indy Star, joined by Andy Elkins, the athletic director over at North Central. Thanks for coming on, Andy.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Andy, it's been it seems like we talk a lot about COVID and what's been going on with it, how it affects athletes and coaches and athletic directors. And North Central was particularly hit by it way back when it kind of first started. And Paul Logan, the longtime athletic director, your mentor, and I had a chance to get to know Paul over the years, and I know you were close with him, and you were able to speak at his memorial at the football field, and I think that was in August, I believe, and just very emotional, obviously, for your community over there at North Central. I just wanted to ask you about Paul and what he meant to you, not only as a mentor to you, but as a person in general.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing about Paul that some people know and some people don't, but I went in, I interviewed with him. I'd never met him before, only read about him on the internet, and knew he was one heck of a college football player, that he was from Rushville, and that he'd been at North Central for a long time. And we were about 20 minutes into the interview, and I immediately knew, man, I really want this to work out because I can work for this guy. And then about 20 minutes later, I mean, he was so upbeat about the kids and the conference and the community and what it's like to be a North Central Panther. I mean, I was ready to run through a wall for this guy, and I had just met him. So that was just kind of his persona, his personality. But not only was he a great guy, but he was just passionate about everything he did. Whether we were driving downtown to go to Barbecue Heaven to get something to eat, is the best barbecue you've ever had, and he'd talk about it for 20 minutes. If he was talking about his kids, best kids ever, he'd talk about them for 20 minutes. Players that used to play for him, Derek Mays, you know, he would talk about the big names, but he'd also talk about the senior who got in week 6 and made this great block. No one else would think about that except for Paul Logan and that kid and his family. And he just remembered every kid by name. Our door at our office was a revolving door because all those alums would come back, and they always wanted to talk to Paul. And when they would go in there, he would just make them feel like $1 million, and he loved it. He was a passionate guy. He was an emotional guy, and everything he did was because he thought that was what was best for that person. When I was lucky enough for him to hire me, he thought that was best for me, and I couldn't be more grateful that he gave me this opportunity.
Yeah, and that's one thing I always think of, too, his family. His kids were always around him. Every time I was there, or I'd see him at Thanksgiving at at Lucas Oil Stadium that weekend, or, even at any games, basketball, football, whatever, he always had his kids with him, around him all the time. I think that was, and I always got the sense being around North Central sports that it felt like family. Even the administrators and the coaches, it always felt like a closer unit maybe than a lot of schools are. And I think that comes from the top down. I think Chuck was that way. I think Paul was that way too.
Paul just made you feel like he was glad you were there. Mm-hmm. Whether it was 10 o'clock at night after a football game, he'd been there since 6:30 in the morning. He was glad to have another conversation. He would bring people in to talk to the kids that already gone through what our kids were going through, in alumni coming back, and he just wanted everybody to stay connected to North Central, to their high school, to their community, and to remember where they came from. But he also wanted people to come back, like our NFL players, our NBA guys. We've had 2 guys win a Super Bowl that went to North Central. He wanted them to come back to tell the kids that this is what you can strive for as well, but you have to get the academics before you can do this. So he did a great job. He lived in the community. He shopped in the community. He was just everything that you would want as an advocate for your school and your community. And I can tell you what, I still go to work in that office. I stayed in my office. I did not move into his because in my mind that'll always be Mr. Logan's office. But I think about him constantly and about what would he do? Mm-hmm. What would his advice be? And I try to think about what he would tell me to do and the lessons that I learned from him over the 6 years working with him, and try to incorporate that with my ideas as well.
Well, I know I popped in his office one day and he said, I got maybe a couple of years, 3-4 years, something like that left. And I know at some point you probably wanted to be the athletic director at North Central. Do you feel like, it's been a smooth transition, even though it wasn't, the way obviously anybody wanted it to be? Has it been relatively smooth because you had that experience under Paul?
Well, I think it was as smooth as it could be, because when everything went down, we weren't really doing much at the time. We had time to grieve. We had time to catch our breath. But to say that everything's how it used to be, it's not. Because when you lose that sort of personality, that sort of advocate for everything that you do as a North Central Panther, things are going to be a little bit different. Paul was more outgoing and than I am, and he had his way of doing it. I have my way of doing it. But I always think about Paul before I make big decisions. And we have a plaque that actually hangs in our office that says the right thing to do is the best thing for kids all the time. And I read that 10, 12 times a day, because that's what Paul would always say. Tough decisions are easy if you put the kids first.
Well, and Michael Logan, now an assistant at North Central, and carrying on that tradition. You guys have a lot going on over there, I know, facility-wise, and you're hosting a girls sectional coming up here very quickly this week. What's keeping you busy over there at North Central right now?
Right. Well, here's what's great is we got We're hosting the girls sectional, which is tomorrow night, Friday, and Saturday. Then we're hosting the girls swim sectional, which is Thursday and Saturday. Then we're hosting a quadrant of the freshman county basketball tournament. And then we have a boys JV varsity basketball game on Saturday. And I always say this is a week that Paul Logan would have loved, because he's going to be here 4, 5, 6 days a week for 12-hour days watching the Panthers compete against the best competition in the area. And that's all you ever want to do if you're in my job. If you're going to sit in a gym, you want to watch the best, play the best coaches, the best fans, and the best facilities. And believe it or not, they pay me a paycheck every other Friday to watch this, to watch these kids do what they do best. The Lawrence Central Wrestlers, we host the MIC. I got to watch them. And when Coach said they're unbelievable, they are unbelievable athletes. Up and down MIC wrestling, there's unbelievable athletes. We'll watch 5 or 6 Division I signees this week in our sectional. So I'm not going to tell my boss that I do this for free, because I do have bills, but I do this for free.
Yeah, I had a chance today to talk to a couple of your better football athletes, Micah and Josiah Green, and what great kids those are. And there's a lot of those, I know, in your school at North Central.
Yeah, Josiah and Micah, they love the game of football, but they're also students first. And they're big advocates in our program. When we were unable to play this summer, they put a video together, got a lot of kids together to kind of get with our school board on, we need to do this, we want to do that, and they brought that together with a few other of our student athletes. But, we got Theron Johnson going to Northwestern. You don't get into Northwestern unless you know what you're doing during the school day as well. But we got kids that are signing and going all over. Meg Newman, who will be playing this week, she's going to Arizona State. Danielle Welch, she'll probably be able to name wherever she wants to go to play basketball as well, but she's just a junior. Nakai Hunter's going to IUPUI to play basketball. So, up and down the line, we have kids that are moving on and doing what they love to do, and we're just glad that we can be a platform to help these kids continue to do the sport they love in college.
Well, we're short on time. Next time I want to talk to you about your basketball career, because I don't think people know enough about what you accomplished down in Evansville, but we'll save that for another show.
I'm just glad sometimes in Indy people know where Evansville is. I think they think it ends at Terre Haute, but yeah, I'd love to do that. If people want to know what happened in the early 90s, I don't know if a lot of people want to know about that anymore, but anytime I can be helpful to the MIC Network, you guys are great. Kyle, I appreciate your time, and anything I can do to be a part of the MIC Network, I'm here.
Well, thanks for coming on, Andy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Let's kick it over to Will.
And we'd like to thank Tom Wood Nissan for hosting Around the MIC tonight. It's been a great show so far, but don't go anywhere, because we have Indianapolis star Matt Van Tryon here tonight to talk about the girls basketball sectional. And we also like to thank all the other Tom Wood dealerships for being partners with the MIC Network and what we do here, supporting high school sports just in general. We'll be back after the break. I'm going to go ahead and hop in this Nissan right here and zip on out of here. We'll be back after the break.
The car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
2 vehicles, same model, same color, same price. The difference? The Tom Wood vehicle is a better value because it comes with our exclusive lifetime powertrain coverage at no cost to you. Find the car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
The car you want, the way you want at TomWood.com.
Least segment here at Around the MIC, and joined by my colleague now, Matthew Van Tryon from the Indy Star. Matthew does a great job covering the girls basketball side of things, and Matthew, it's coming right down to the end, not the end, but the start of the end, I guess, for girls basketball. Sectionals start on Tuesday night, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, so a lot of basketball in a short amount of time. We're on the MIC Network here, so we want to hear, what's going on in the MIC. I know there's a lot of great teams. North Central is going to be hosting a big one there in Sectional 10. And I know the Panthers are probably, I would assume, the team to beat in that sectional.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously Lawrence North is in that sectional as well. They've made 2 consecutive state title appearances. They won last year, but you look at North Central and all the talent they have. They're ranked number 1 in both of the polls. They've won 15 games in a row. Both of their losses, one came to Bedford North Lawrence relatively early in the season. One came to a kind of powerhouse team in Ohio but they've, really kind of just run over pretty much everybody they've played, and they've beat Lawrence North twice already this year pretty convincingly. So you never want to count out what Chris Giffen can do with his Lawrence North team, and anytime you have Jayla Smith on your team, that gives you a good chance to win, and it helps certainly that they have a bye as well. But yeah, you would say that North Central is probably the favorite to come out of that sectional.
And North Central, I know Mr. Elkins just came on, was talking about Meg Newman and what she does for that team. Deanne Ramey's been there coaching quite a while now. How would you kind of describe that North Central team? What do they do well? What makes them maybe the team to beat, or one of the teams to beat in the state?
Yeah, they're just so deep. They just have so much talent on that roster. You mentioned Meg Newman. Taniel Welch is probably one of the most versatile players in her class, if not in the state. Nakai Hunter kind of provides them a solid presence down low. They have some other guards as well. Ava Couch is, always capable of hitting a shot. So just the combination of their depth and then their athleticism, their ability to just kind of wear teams down. I've watched quite a few of their games this year, and there are some games where they're, a team will give them a test for, the first half, and maybe it'll be a 3 or 4 point game at halftime, but then you just kind of see them wear teams down by the third quarter and into the fourth quarter. North Central is kind of still sprinting while the other team is kind of just lagging behind a little bit, just because they're worn out and they're tired, and the athleticism factor really kind of comes into play a lot. And I think that'll also come into play if they make a deep tournament run, just because maybe they'll still kind of have that energy. Especially when you look at a sectional format where you have to play, 3 games in the span of 5 days. I think that they're kind of probably more prepared for that than a lot of other teams.
You mentioned Lawrence North and Jayla Smith, and I had a chance to see her, I think, 2 years ago in a regional, and really was impressed with her even then. And she's come a long way, I'm sure, since then. Is that maybe the team that you would pick that could upset North Central in that sectional?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Lawrence North has shown several times this year that they can beat solid teams. They had a big win over Carmel, where Jayla Smith just hit an absolutely ridiculous shot at the end of regulation. To win that game, she hit an even crazier shot against Crown Point at the end of regulation to send that game into overtime. They ended up losing that game, but they've shown that they can compete with the best teams in the state on any given night. They've just kind of struggled with that consistency. They've struggled to kind of string games together, and obviously that's what you have to do in sectionals. But again, it does help that they have that bye. They don't play until Friday. Maybe they can, get a few more practices in or something to kind of pull that magic together that they seem to always kind of find a way to get when it comes to the tournament time. Last year they beat North Central by, I think they beat them by 2 in the sectional final. So, and then they go on to win state. So, Chris Giffen always finds a way to kind of get the most out of his team. And we'll see if they can do that again this year.
Yeah, Chris Giffen, definitely one of the best coaches around as well on the girls' side at Lawrence North, excuse me. And then Carmel and Matthew they're on the other side of the bracket, sectional 8. But I would say they're one of the teams to beat as well, coming from that side. Talk about the Greyhounds a little bit and what they bring to the table. What's kind of, who do they rely on, and what do you give their chances to go make a run?
Yeah, they're a really interesting team. They kind of came into the year as one of the favorites. They were ranked number 1 for quite a while there at the beginning of the year. They play one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule in the state, so that kind of caught up to them a little bit. And then Bridget Dunn, who is one of their key players, got injured. So she hasn't been able to play for them, and that's kind of made a difference. So they kind of have struggled wins and losses wise, but they've come on strong late. Kate Clark is absolutely fantastic for them. Hannah Lack is really strong for them as well. So they're a team that might be able to take some people by surprise. That Zionsville sectional 8 is by far the deepest sectional in the state. I think you have 5 teams in there that are ranked in the top 15 or 20. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they're the favorite in that sectional, but it does help that they have that bye. They don't have to play until Friday. So that they're certainly able to string together a couple of good games and win that sectional.
And then on the south side as well, Ben Davis on the south side of the bracket. Everybody remember Stan Benge made the return back to Ben Davis, obviously one of the best coaches around, and got that Giants program playing better now. What do you give their chances to win? Where's that sectional at this year? Sectional 11 there?
That's actually at Ben Davis.
Okay.
So they're hosting that sectional. I think that what Stan Benge has been able to do with that program is probably one of the most impressive coaching jobs that we've seen this season, and maybe in recent memory, because he took over that program not really knowing any of those players. They returned a couple of players, but not that many players from a team that won a sectional last year. And then they had a pretty lengthy COVID quarantine situation they had to go through at the beginning of the year, kind of towards the beginning of the year. And this is a team that a lot, kind of like Lawrence North is kind of inconsistent at times, but they've shown that they can play with just about anybody. They actually beat Lawrence North earlier a couple of weeks ago and led by 20-some points in the first half. So they're a team that's relatively inexperienced, relatively young, but they've shown that they can put kind of spurts together and make runs. It's just a matter of whether they can do that for 4 quarters. And I think that they already have wins against a lot of sectional opponents that they're going to play. They get a bye, and they'll presumably play Roncalli in the sectional semifinal on Friday. They already beat Roncalli once this year, but it was a close game. It was a 1-point game. They've kind of had Roncalli's number here as of late, but Roncalli's also another team that, can beat anybody on a given night. Maddie Bischoff is one of the best seniors in the class, and so that should be a really good semifinal game.
And that would be Stan Benge's old team against his current. That's kind of interesting, too. I know Matthew Center Grove, a team that you kind of forget about them sometimes because they're in the sectional in the south there and feed into a different regional going that direction down south. What do you give the Trojans chances this year? I know maybe the win-loss record hasn't been what it has been in the past, but how would you assess their chances?
Yeah, they're a really strong defensive team. They kind of pride themselves on their defense, and they certainly have enough offensive pieces to be able to put up points at times. Mary Wilson, who's a senior, is really strong for them. But they really do kind of rely on their defense, and that's kind of come along at this point in the season. I mean, when you look at the MIC, there's only one team in that group that has a losing record. Mm-hmm. So, they are a team that certainly is capable of putting together a strong run. They'll probably end up facing Franklin in the sectional final. Franklin's one of the kind of biggest surprises this year, I guess. I think they're 17-2. They kind of came out of nowhere in a lot of ways and have really put together a strong season. But when those two teams played in the regular season, it was kind of a defensive battle. I think that Franklin won 30-29 or something like that. So, Center Grove has certainly shown that they can play with Franklin and they can slow them down and kind of limit them offensively. So, I would certainly say that they have a chance if it gets to a rematch between those two teams to come out on top.
Well, Matthew, what's your week look like? Where are you going to try to hit some different sites, or you camped out at one this week?
I'll be at Zionsville tomorrow. Wednesday, I might go down to Newcastle. Hamilton Heights has a really good team this year. They're 15-1, I think. And then Friday and Saturday, I'll be back at Zionsville. Like I said, I think you have 5 ranked teams in that sectional. Fishers, Carmel, Westfield, Zionsville, Noblesville. I mean, you just have so much talent in that one site, and then HSE as well, who won a state title a couple of years ago, could also come out of that sectional.
Well, I know for when I do the boys, you always want to be different. So many different places, hard to pick just one. But I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun this week. And make sure you follow Matthew and all his work at indystar.com. He'll have stuff throughout the week. Already does have a lot of previews up and those sorts of things, predictions and whatnot. So give Matthew a follow, and that's going to do it for our show here at Nissan, at Tom Wood Nissan for tonight. Thanks for joining us on Around the MIC.